Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hamza Learning Podcast. I'm Hamza, your guide to learning English in fun and practical ways. As always, I'm joined.
Hi Hamza, hi everyone. I'm doing great, and I'm excited about today's episode because it's a topic I know a lot of our listeners will find helpful.
Absolutely. Today, we're talking about a skill that's so important, but often overlooked, listening. In fact, many learners struggle with this aspect of English. But don't worry, by the end of this episode, you'll have some great strategies to improve your listening skills.
That's right, Hamza. Listening is key to mastering any language, but it can be tricky, especially with the variety of accents and speeds that native speakers use.
Exactly. So let's dive into why listening can be challenging for English learners, and more importantly, what we can do to improve. So Sarah, why do so many people find listening in English difficult? Is it just about the accents?
Accents are definitely a big part of it, but there's more to it. One common reason is that native speakers tend to speak quickly and use connected speech. They blend words together, which can make it hard for learners to catch individual words.
Yes, I've noticed that too. It's like when someone says, "What you doing?" instead of, "What are you doing?" It all just blends into one sound. Okay, so now that we understand why it's difficult, let's talk about how we can improve our listening skills. What's the first tip you have for our listeners, Sarah?
Exactly. Another challenge is vocabulary. If you don't know the words being used, it's tough to understand what's being said, even if you can hear it clearly. And, of course, distractions can also make it harder to focus on what you're hearing.
That's a great point. Active listening forces you to pay attention to not just the words, but also the tone and the situation.
The first and probably most important tip is to practice active listening. This means really focusing on the speaker and not just letting the sounds wash over you. Try to catch the meaning behind the words, and if possible, listen for context clues.
Right, because if it's too difficult, you'll get discouraged. You want to challenge yourself just enough to improve, but not so much that you give up.
Exactly. My second tip is to start with materials that are slightly above your current level. For example, if you're a beginner, don't jump straight into fast-paced movies or podcasts. Start with slower, easier content like English learning videos or audiobooks that match your level.
That's true. There are so many opportunities to practice. You can listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, or even the news in English. And the more you listen, the more your brain gets used to the sounds and patterns of the language.
Yes, and my third tip is to make listening a daily habit. You don't have to sit down and study for hours. You can listen to English while doing other things, like when you're commuting, exercising, or cooking. The key is to expose yourself to the language regularly.
I love that advice. Another thing I found helpful is listening with subtitles or transcripts. That way, you can match the words you're hearing to the text. Over time, you'll start to recognize the words just by hearing them, without needing the subtitles.
Exactly. And don't forget to mix it up. Listen to different types of content, interviews, news reports, conversations, to get used to various accents and styles of speaking.
And let's not forget about repetition. Listening to the same audio multiple times can help reinforce the vocabulary and structures.
Yes, using subtitles or transcripts is a fantastic way to improve listening. You can also pause and rewind to listen to tricky parts again. Don't be afraid to repeat sections until you understand them. Repetition is key. Each time you listen, you'll understand a bit more. Plus, it helps build your confidence because you're actively improving.
Now, before we wrap up, let's go over some vocabulary that's useful when talking about listening skills. 1. Active listening, paying full attention to the speaker to understand the message. Example, active listening can help you catch the meaning behind fast speech. 2. Context clues, hints in the surrounding words that help you understand unfamiliar vocabulary. Example, use context clues to figure out the meaning of a word you don't know. 3. Connected speech, when words are joined together in natural, fast speech. Example, in English, going to often sounds like gonna due to connected speech. 4. Transcripts, written versions of spoken language. Example, reading the transcript while listening can help you understand more. That's it for today's episode on improving your listening skills. Remember, listening is a skill that takes time to develop, but with regular practice and the right strategies, you'll see improvement. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. And as always, leave a comment telling us your favorite way to practice listening. We'll see you next time on the Hamza Learning Podcast. Bye for now.